Hello out there,
Hello.
and welcome to this edition of Marriage Talk with Jacob.
And LaShawn.
And we're so excited again this week right here to have an opportunity to share some practical tips on how our marriage have gotten to the point where we're at, and
Yes.
a lot of the things that we have done and we are still doing.
Yes.
Just like this weekend right here, Friday and Saturday, we attended a 2-day marriage workshop,
Yes.
which was really exciting. And I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was the fact that before we got into talking about marriage, we actually dealt with some self-development
Yes.
Principles
Yes.
and lessons, because a lot of times in marriage we want the marriage to work, and we're wondering why we're having these frictions in the marriage,
Right.
and seem like we are always arguing, but we never look at ourselves, and
Right.
until we can deal with ourselves,
Right.
there's no way we're going to be effective
Right.
on building the marriage.
Right. So the conference was called Better Together, and it was really awesome. And like Jacob said, they just really talked about self-development to begin with, and it was just really encouraging and empowering. And then they talked about pain and the cycle of pain that we as individuals go through, but they also talked about the peace.
Right.
So, and that piece was, to help come in and, fix those painful areas that we had. So it was really, really enlightening, and I could say that we gathered a lot from there and grew a lot while we were there as well. So we had a great time this weekend doing that.
Yeah. So today we want to deal with this topic of quality time.
Yes.
Quality time together. There's no way we are going to develop, enhance, grow this marriage,
Right.
be effective in this team if we are not spending quality time together.
Yes.
And as we go through this lesson today, and then
Right.
even next week,
Yes.
quality time together is not just because we sitting down, I guess that could be looking at a movie, that could be quality time.
Sure, yeah,
But
yeah.
we want to really define quality time, because some things we might be in the same room. You could have two people in the same room,
Right.
but they really ain't communicating.
Correct.
And you could be in the midst
Yeah.
of a lot of people and still feel lonely,
Sure.
because you're really not interacting.
Right.
So we want to go through and explain that with this quality time, we really getting to know each other. We
Yes.
becoming friends. We spending time with each other. I don't just love you, I really like you.
I like you too.
And a lot of times we can love a person, but I don't too much like being around that person.
Right.
I don't like their personality, but we know how to have fun with each other. We know how to laugh with each other. We know how to tease each other.
Yeah.
When you get to a point in your marriage relationship, I believe especially you can dose each other on each other's parents
Yeah.
and not get
Offended.
mad and offended.
Yeah.
You have really matured.
Yeah.
And in the beginning part of our relationship,
Right.
that was a weapon for me, because I knew if I brought up the parent on you and I said something about your mama, even though you were fast on the words, I can get you right there.
Yeah.
But now we use that,
Right.
as we just having fun, and that it always be a part of our quality time together. And so I want to read this definition that I have of quality time. It says, time invested in giving another person your undivided attention in order to strengthen the relationship. Let me say that again. It said time invested.
Yes.
So I got to invest this time,
Yes.
and then you got to look at this word time. So it's a process.
Yes.
You know, we haven't gotten to this point in our relationship overnight. You're looking at 30 plus years of a relationship,
Right.
29 plus years of marriage,
Right.
you know. And so it says time invested in giving another person. So this ain't about me, you know. When we're doing this, it's really about you,
Yes.
you know. This another person wants undivided attention. In order, the purpose of it is in order to strengthen our relationship.
Right. And so when I look at that, and this is time invested, anybody knows anything about investments, you know, you can make that investment, but it takes time for it to grow.
Right.
So before you can get a return on it, you know,
Right.
time has to go by for that investment to grow and mature and, you know, give you back,
Right.
you know, what you have
The return you're
ultimately
looking
put
for.
into it plus more.
Right.
So, you know, time invested in giving another person. And so it's about me giving, you know, you the time
Right.
as well, and you giving me the time. We investing
Right.
that time in each other.
Your undivided attention.
Yes, and so, you know, that actually helps to strengthen the relationship and help the relationship to grow.
Right.
So I have a few things here I just wanted to talk about. Quality time in marriage. Married couples often complain about losing spark in their relationship after a few years into marriage, and this is because they start taking each other for granted, and they no longer do special things that they used to do. But spending quality time together is very important to keep your bond strong.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, when we first met, you know, we would date, we went to the movies, we went out to the game room,
Right.
we just did all this stuff. But
Right.
what happens after a while when couples, you know, they've spent all that, they get married,
Mhm.
life happens, children, work, you know, just whatever, they don't really have
Right.
time to spend quality
Right.
time together.
Death of family
You know,
members.
Yeah, I mean, just
You know.
all type of things come up, but you know, you have to pull away, you know, and you have to basically say, you know what, we got to put some time in, you know, into this marriage. And also, why is quality time important in a marriage? Beyond providing emotional support in our time of need, spending time with each other helps to strengthen our identification as a couple. And so a lot of times couples will get with other couples, you know, and they call that like quality time, but actually being together just the both of you by yourself, that is really important and successful. And so the amount of time couples spend doing things with each other and without other couples help to really strengthen that relationship and that bond. So what does spending time together mean? So if couples spend quality time together, they spend a period of time relaxing or doing things that they both enjoy, and then they're not worrying about, you know, work or other responsibilities. In other words, you know, sometimes it might cost you a couple dollars to just get away from the norm, you know, and just get that quality time into each other, so you know you can have that, you know, that time to really reflect and just love on one another.
Right. One of the things that you said that was very important, you know, especially for us as men, we spend a lot of times when we see a female that we are really interested in, we spend a lot of time, you know, trying to figure out what it is going to, what it is going to take in order for me to get that female's attention.
Yeah.
And you talked about inside what you were reading of taking each other for granted.
Right.
You know, and so we go all out, whether it's in the appearance, making sure I'm looking good, making sure I'm smelling good, making sure I'm holding her hand, making sure I'm opening the door for you, making sure I'm putting your coat on, whatever it is that I feel that I can do to impress you, I'm going to do it.
Right.
But in taking each other, starting to take each other for granted, then I got you, we done said I do, and I stopped doing those
Right,
things.
yeah.
And so it's very easy, you know, to start taking each other for granted
Yeah.
and not, you know, saying, no, you are important to me.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that you are growing, and I'm seeing that my investment,
Yes.
you know, and even when you make an investment, you know, in anything, well, when you start seeing the return, if it's
Yes.
money, you don't just go out and you just spend up all the money,
no.
you know. Well, okay, if I made an investment this first time, you know, and here I got this return, the thing to do is for me to continue to make the investment, you know, because if I don't, it's very easy now for me to start taking you for granted and you start taking me for granted because we forget why. And our last marriage workshop that we did, one of the things that we had the couples do is we talked about what it was that got the spouse attention, and I talked about
what attracted you to that.
I talked about that the first thing that I saw about you was the way your hair looked, and I was very impressed with that, you know, because sometimes, you know, we need to go back and think about what it was about that female that got my attention, what it was about that male that got my attention the very first time. You know, we got to be creative in our relationship. Otherwise, it's very easy because life happened and all the things you just said, you know, now we just cohabitating together and it's very easy now for us to take each other for granted. And you know, coming to visit and coming to stay is different. And in relationship, the closer we get to in relationship, the more of the imperfection we see of each other. And now we got a choice to accept that person how God created that person, or we're going to get into this thing called control of saying God shouldn't have made you like this here, he should have made you like that. You know, and I don't have the right to say that, you know, authentic and true love is I'm loving you because and how God created you to be, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I expect you to do the same with me, even when we see those things that we don't like too much about each other when it comes to each other personality. And you know, I think the thing that, you know, helped us out the 100% is God's word, you know, because the Bible it's our manual, and a good definition we heard even over this weekend that word manual means the mind of the maker, you know, and God is the one that created marriage. And so this verse of scripture is in Galatians, the 6th chapter. I want to read it. Galatians 6. But we talked about, you know, we got to spend this time. And, you know, it's a process. It's not just strengthening of this relationship. It's not overnight. So Galatians 6, verse number 7 says, and this is in the Amplified version of the Bible, it says, do not be deceived and deluded and misled. God will not allow himself to be sneered at by his precepts being set aside. For whatever a man sows, that and that only is what he will reap. So we put in the time, the quality time in our relationship, it is going to reap, and we are going to see what God says in his word. And then in verse 9 it says, and let us not lose heart and grow weary and faint in acting nobly and doing right. For in due time and at the appointed season we shall reap, if we do not loosen and relax our courage and then faint. You know, which I thought was very, very good. In other words, you know, if we put the time in, we're going to get the result. So quality time together, you know, makes the marriage work. And you know, what may be quality time for me and you may not be quality time for someone else. So you got to see what works for you.
Absolutely. I mean, because some people have to, you know, be unique. The way that they set up their quality time with each other and creative, you know, because we all have life and we're at different stages, you know, with small children or, you know, with middle-aged children, or, you know, we might have a parent we might be caring for or something. So, you know, we have to be creative in how we spend that time. But the point of it all is to make sure that you spend the quality time with each other and you do it, you know, and you're purposely aiming to make sure that, hey, I don't care what happens, we have date night, whatever, you know, you just get away, do whatever, you do it consistently. So,
right.
you know, we just wanted to share a little bit, and we'll get more into some principles on next week about how quality time makes the marriage work. And so, you know, we hope that this has been a blessing to you. And again, it'll be, you can refer anyone to go to Facebook and listen to our teachers and YouTube as well, you know, to listen to some of our teachings. And if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer for you, you know, be sure to you know, message us or, you know, send it to us via Facebook, and we'll be glad to try to answer it for you. So we appreciate your time, and we just hope you have a blessed rest of the day. And again, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.